Take on the darkness, stare down deceit. Murder in the headlines, justice in the beat. From cold case whispers to killers in disguise, we rip off the mask, expose all the lies. Facts like bullets reload and deliver. Truth cuts deep like a blade in a river. Corruption shakes when the mic goes live. We dig where others won't survive. James rolling through the smoke. Truth hits hard, no time for a joke. Deceit, murder, we name every name. No restraint, no shame, just flame. Locked on the case, we investigate.
This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
You'll ever need 12 Gauge Investigate. We make them bleed. No games, no censors, just truth. Justice is loud, and we're the sound. This is 12 Gauge Investigative.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. You know, this is part 2 to what I started streaming earlier before I had to call it and go get this haircut, get some errands ran. But now I'm back. Welcome back, everybody who's here. I want to start off by playing something and then get back to what I was talking about, Tony Brueski. And if you haven't gone to check out his channel, it's called Hidden. Hold on. It's called Hidden True Crime with Tony Brueski. Yeah. So y'all go check that out whenever you get a chance. Everybody doing well? Y'all having a good day? Surely y'all have ate lunch or breakfast by now. Man, I had a good lunch. It was pretty good. But I want to start off with this Ashley Banfield piece. And then we'll get to Tony.
Have forever changed the way juries approach their jobs. I'm not talking about true crime shows like this one. I'm talking about those dramas. You know, what we used to call police procedurals, Law and Order and all that, forensic files and CSIS, I think they call it. I don't watch them, funny enough. I like the true stuff. But they all toss around lingo and they show off the latest great tech. They generally solve cases in an hour or less, right down to the micromolecular level. They do this for crime, what doctors do for illness, but with one big difference. Patients do not decide whether a tumor is benign or not, or whether the rash is contagious. Jurors, on the other hand, they do. They've got the power. They are plucked from the public with no legal education. They very much decide whether someone's guilty and sometimes whether someone will be executed for it. And when it comes to evidence and proof and reasonable doubt, 21st century jurors have come to expect some pretty big things, high expectations. They hate loose ends and unconnected dots and statistical probabilities. And to those modern day arbiters of guilt or innocence, I say this hour is for you. Tonight, we are all about that one show-stopping piece of evidence that catches the defendant dead to rights. It's best known as the smoking gun. Could be a gun, but more often it's a photo or some video, text messages or emails, cell phone data, or Google searches.
Well, in this case, it would be the knife sheath.
Or DNA. The Brian Kohberger trial coming up fast in Idaho has all of these things, minus an actual gun. But its smoking gun may very well be the DNA. The state says Kohberger's DNA is on the snap of the knife sheath, which was found next to Maddie Mogan's body. The defense has tried every which way to undermine the process that led to that conclusion, and failing that, to keep the findings as far away from the courtroom as possible. But for now, at least, it is the heart of the prosecution's case. And for obvious reasons, right? You know who knows this better than anyone else I know? my News Nation colleague, Brian Enton.
So what she's talking about is what we've been talking about over however many years. I've only had my channel for a year and a half, I think. But since this crime occurred, we've been talking about the evidence. Wow, I totally misspelled. Continue. Let me correct that. It's going to drive me crazy. Put a G right there. We've been talking about this knife sheath. We've been talking about the DNA. We've been talking about, is it relevant to the case? And whatever your decision is, whatever your thoughts are on it, that's your thoughts. And it's applicable to the way you think, the way you feel about this case. If you feel that this is a smoking gun, then it is a smoking gun. I believe, like I've told you, and I said this in the last live, I believe the man is guilty. Whether it's circumstantial evidence, whether they prove, if he ends up being innocent by the jury's mindset, that's the jury that let him go. I didn't. I can still hold on to my thoughts and beliefs. And that's my thoughts and beliefs. The channel, on the other hand, I'm choosing to try to be a little more objective, even though it's very difficult, especially when you don't have as much on the other avenue of innocence versus all the stuff that we hear about that could connect this individual to these crimes.
Brian, I know that literally up until this moment, you have been going through these court docs, and I think you're still going through them. So there may be more shoes to drop, but let's start with what we know. And let's just start with that K-bar knife because, I felt like the biggest moment in this case was that they found the knife sheath. And then the second biggest moment was that they figured out DNA on the snap, that little spot here on the knife sheath, the thing that snaps it shut. That's where that little tiny speck of DNA was, and that it matched Brian Kohberger. But now we have him in court documents from Amazon buying a K-bar knife, a sheath, and a sharpener.
Yeah, more than 100 pages of court documents came out just within the last couple of hours, and this was buried in the documents. And you mentioned it. I mean, this is a massive deal. This is a huge, huge piece of evidence, something very, very helpful to the prosecution. They are saying that between March 20th and March 30th of 2022, so that would be about 8 months before the murders happened, that Brian Kohberger, through his Amazon account, bought the K-bar knife, bought the sheath, and also bought a sharpener.
Chad, do y'all believe that this is the smoking gun? The fact that the Amazon history is going to potentially show that he bought this, that it was delivered to his house, and that he had it, that it was delivered and he picked it up, so to speak. Let me know what you think in the chat.
So what I thought was also interesting, and I may be, superimposing my thoughts over their documents here, but it felt to me that the prosecution was making its case by saying we did not cherry pick. We didn't cherry pick anything. What we did was we found a purchase of what was a murder weapon, similar to a murder weapon and a sheath. And also, we looked at other activity, and never did he seem to be a hunter. Never did he seem to be a fisherman buying this stuff all the time. It seemed to be just this.
And I was going to say that earlier. I was going to say when I was talking about the knife and the knife sheath and all this other stuff, just like you're investigating certain things, I'm sure they were looking to see if he's been on any fishing trips, any hunting trips, any family trips after he bought that knife. Was there any applicable conclusions to have that knife on his person to buy this knife? And granted, you can buy a knife just to buy a knife. It's not against the law to buy a knife. But in this avenue, you're trying to still look at ways to discredit this individual from being the killer. You're not trying to convict at this point of the investigative process. You're trying to eliminate suspects. And we can do that in our minds. We can make up 100 scenarios for why this individual ordered this knife, but we don't know. But what I'm telling you is if the police were investigating this, did he go on any hunting trips after? Was he an avid fisherman? Did he did he go hunting, any of that? Camping? Did he go on any of these trips ever? So it's not going to be just that little bit of time from the time that he bought the knife. But like I said, pattern equals piece by piece mens rea of a guilty mindset. You said, I am none of those things. I don't hunt. I don't fish. And I have this knife that I bought on Amazon. I could be a killer, I guess. I just said that he could have this knife just for for no reason at all, just to buy it. I'm not trying to say he's a killer, so don't be putting words in my mouth. I didn't say that at all. I'm saying that, you know what? When it comes to investigative processes, you have to eliminate everything that's been adding up to this point. The pings, the digital evidence, all this other stuff. It's not just one little piece, okay? So please don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that he was a killer just because he had a knife. I'm saying that there could be other avenues, and they're investigating that to see if this individual actually had this knife for other reasons. And the point of the matter is, where is this knife? Where is this knife? He doesn't have to tell anybody where it is, but if he had the knife but no knife sheath, doesn't that seem a little suspicious? Where's the knife sheath? And if you say I lost it, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're fine. You're fine, cuff you. I'm not taking offense to anything you're saying. I'm just, I'm trying to go all the way around the whole situation. Where is the knife? Where's the knife sheath? I mean, that's the biggest question, is where are these objects? You bought them, they were delivered to your house, but where are they now? I'd be damned if I was convicted or if I was suspected of doing this. You know what I mean? If I was the one in jail, I would be saying, well, my knife is in my dad's closet in the knife sheath. That could have them go look that and then see if it's the same serial number and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're cool. We're cool, cuff you. We're cool. I'm not saying anything against what you're saying. You're cool. We're cool. And I'm not saying you're putting words in my mouth. I'm just saying that it just appeared that you were saying that I was calling anybody who had a knife like this a killer, and I'm not. I'm not. We're good. We're good.
This one time that he bought this kind of weapon.
Yeah, they looked at all of the activity, all of the Amazon activity for several different time periods leading up to the murders. And what's interesting is the way we found this out is there's these filings going back and forth between the defense and the prosecution, because the defense is trying to get a lot of this Amazon information and Amazon activity thrown out. Obviously, I mean, now we know why. It's damning to Brian Koberger. So they've been saying, hey, the state is cherry picking, some of this stuff shouldn't be included. And in those filings back and forth, that's where this massive tidbit was, right, buried in the documents, that Brian Koberger had bought the knife sheath on Amazon.
Sure will be interested to find out what his answers are to where is that knife that you proudly bought. It wasn't in any of, well, we don't know, but I didn't see it on a manifest of any of the search warrants at his apartment or in Pennsylvania. I didn't see a K-bar knife, a knife sharpener, or a knife sheath in anything that they were able to seize from all the places that they searched of his. So it would be interesting if this had nothing to do with anything, then where's your precious K-bar knife that you spent all that money on, on Amazon back in March? And he, better have a pretty good answer for that. Let me jump to that selfie. I just sent.
Okay, I wanted to play that one because I think this is an older one. I thought this was the one she did the other day, but I've seen this one already. I'll go ahead and get on with Teddy Brueski or Tony Brueski because I've already seen that one. I've seen that one already. So that is the bigger question: is where's the knife sheath and where is the knife? You get what I'm saying? It's like, where is it? Where is it? Let me see where that video is that I was showing earlier. Did AR have a different channel now? A convict's perspective? There's a new channel that I'm looking at on my recommendations called A Convict's Perspective. I wonder if he has a new channel out. Isn't his A Convict's Thoughts? Well, that's good. That's a good place for it. That's a good place for it. You know, let's continue on with what Mr. Brueski was talking about.
Have the exact people down of who he's going to go after, but having that rage, if it was him, that okay, I'm gonna really study about this mechanically. So the rage is over here, but I know how to execute this. And he certainly, he talked about everything you need to do to not get caught. And there, he didn't. If it was him, he didn't leave a whole lot behind.
Yeah, he did a fairly good job, other than the knife sheath.
Other than
right?
the obvious,
without,
yes.
Without that,
Yeah.
There would be nothing on him. So it's interesting, that emotional disconnect. It's the same in a lot of professions. I think even when you look at doctors or surgeons, when somebody's doing a hip replacement on grandma, they're looking at the technical aspects of it and aligning the bones and the muscles and doing their best job. They're not thinking about, oh, and this is someone's grandma. They're disconnected from the emotion. So I think, looking at where he was at developmentally, he would have been pondering a violent crime against women probably for many years, probably going at least into early to mid adolescence. So when we look at, was this something, a path he was already on cognitively? Yeah, before. And that could have, as I said, could have driven him to want to study criminology.
And that is what we were talking about before I took a break, is we're talking about the fact that he was on the psychological path, that he was talking psychology, and he didn't go into criminology or criminal justice until his master's level. So that is a long period of time to even study criminal attributes in just a year and a half, if so, because I looked at the master's program because it looks like he went to the community college, which is 2 years. Then he went to the South for 2 more years. That's his bachelor's, and then a year and a half, whatever, to get his master's. Well, I was looking to get my master's, and it's a year program, so 36 hours, and it's a year program, so it's not long at all to potentially get your upper level schooling. But I just wonder what made him go into the criminal justice part at that point rather than at the beginning when yeah, no, I keep calling him Teddy. I don't know why. It's Tony. So to be able to shift from the bachelor's to the master's program, that tells me that something was going on there. Either he'd always wanted to be in the criminal justice, but He probably just wanted to double major, Criminal justice is a good program, but he went into cloud forensics, which is data and analyzing, you know. I don't know. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Cuffy. Thank you.
Let me ask you about that. If he was on this path, obviously we're just talking, it's conjecture, it's allegations. He's innocent until proven guilty. But if we're talking that he was likely on this path from an adolescence, of course, we have the writings where he talks about not being able to feel emotion and things of that nature on a message board, if that's him. And then you have this character that seems to be playing out exactly that from the recollections that people have talked about him in terms of his demeanor, his character. Very much a guy that has some issues with women and very hard time trying to naturally relate to, I think, not only women, but people.
That was wild. I just got booted by StreamYard. Are y'all still here? That was wicked wild right there. Y'all still hear me? I was saying, when it comes to the women aspect about it, I'm not talking incel right now. I'm talking about generalized disdain for anybody telling you what to do that has a deeper level of control over you. I'm not talking about incel. I'm not talking about the sexual aspect. I'm talking about the ability to be able to negotiate with someone of a different gender and view them as a lesser rather than an equal. So, kind of like Mr. Brueski was saying, if he had this disdain for women, where did it come from? Where did that disdain come from? And I kind of spoke on this last night. Was it from his mother? Was it from his sisters? Was it from any of the bullying that he received? Not that it matters. I'm just trying to get where the disdain came from. Kind of like Elliot Rodger. His came from liking a female and getting bullied by all those females. So if Brian was bullied by females as well, then that could explain a lot of avenues that precipitated later on.
In general, when you add that into the equation here, and then you take a look back at how early this could have been going on, does that make him an incel? I know that's a term that gets thrown out a lot, and there's a lot of argument of it. You can only be an incel if you're part of the group, if you're part of this online organized community. To me, I don't. Maybe by definition, but I don't know that the fruit is all that different from the one that's, part of the orchard from the lone tree over here that has the same feelings.
Right.
What's your
exactly.
thoughts?
Yeah, incel isn't a clinical term at all. It's a kind of a pop culture term, and it's fine. I'm not knocking it, but I wouldn't specifically say, oh, I'm diagnosing him as an incel.
Sure.
I think we can say that any male who has violent fantasies toward women, who has had repeated romantic, attempts and failed at all of them, and is often a virgin, that can be qualified as an incel, particularly if they're having violent fantasies, but that's just a pop culture reference. To me, clinically, it doesn't carry a lot of meaning, but would he fit that? Yeah, sure. We could certainly say that.
Because that term comes up so much, and it's not a clinical.
So when people say Brian wasn't an incel because he pulling women, because he got that phone number, he got that woman with the birthing hip, blah, 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 all that. That's not what they're talking about right now. That's not what they're talking about. This is a violence toward women. Like I told you earlier, there's the actor and then there's the chameleon. The actor is the one that can pull the women, the one that is charming and loving and caring. But the chameleon is the one who has the dark fantasies, who has the dark disdain for women in general. And we've heard about that with other individuals that we've covered their cases. You know, there's a lot of individuals that do not, they like women, but they don't love women. They have that aggressive anger kind of methodology of wanting to be having that power and control. And in that aspect, I could see that Brian could fit possibly into that realm. Because you know, whenever you have that understanding of, well, this person doesn't like that this happened to them. So anytime somebody else goes along that line or goes along that mindset, then they're triggered, or they're, I don't like to use the word triggered, but that reenactment takes place. And when that reenactment takes place, that's whenever a lot of bad things happen, because then it becomes a survivalistic instinct. It's no longer a relative instinct where you're in the here and now. Your reality is totally different. It's just about survival. It's about reacting. It's no longer about the other aspects, is what you do on a regular basis. Like if somebody calls you names, or you know, somebody gets angry at you, you have the capability to either react, or you have the capability to think about it and deal with it on a different realm. So since we're talking about these individuals who are killers, then we have to understand as well that they're not thinking normal like we are. They're not thinking quote unquote quasi normal. They're thinking about revenge. They're thinking about the lack of understanding about their situation in life. Like he seemed to be very controlled about wanting to figure out why his thoughts were different. How come he felt like he wasn't equal to other people? And I'm sure a lot of people have felt that way. A lot of people have felt that way. They won't admit it, but a lot of people have felt that way. That they don't fit in, they're not a part of the group, they feel an outcast, sociological aspect. So to compensate over that, then they become aggressive. They start being very vocal and very loud and very condescending and contrarian. And in the fact, while they're doing that, they think that that's attracting the opposite sex toward them because of the power that they dispel. When in reality, a lot of people are put off by that behavior. Brian was a lot more silent, it seems like, until he felt that he needed to show people that he was the smartest person in the room, that he was equal like everybody else. But we don't know that. We're only going on what we've heard and what this individual is talking about right now.
Term. I mean, how does one describe someone like this clinically? Obviously, we're going into probably a dark triad of personalities.
Yeah.
But I mean, how, if that is a strong one, the kind of deep hatred for women, the self-loathing, you know, ultimately extreme insecurity that leads to this defense mechanism of hate towards them. what is that? What are we looking at for somebody psychologically? And labels are one thing, but what kind of label are we putting on that? In
Yeah,
that realm?
label I have gone with from the beginning, and it would fit for anybody who commits a crime like this, is severe cluster B personality pathology. And you mentioned dark triad, and that's narcissism, psychopathy, and you add Machiavellianism.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Everything that I have in my library, they're talking about right now. Little did I know that I was onto something. That is amazing. So if you go and look in my library, and I'm self-promoting myself because I'm proud of the fact that somebody understands exactly what I was talking about. It's a dark triad. There's 2 episodes in that. So if you get bored and you don't have anything else to watch and you really want to learn more about this, go in my library, go into live tab, and look for the dark triad. It is probably 4 or 5 months ago, and it talks about a lot of what's going on right here. A lot of what's going on, and I'm loving it.
That manipulative tendency. And then for a person who commits a crime like this, you throw in sadism. So it's really the dark tetrad. It's 4 personality qualities. And that would be the clinical term for someone like this.
At the end of the day, when people overextend themselves or are overly confident, a lot of times we look at that, and if they're somewhat emotionally detached, and one will go, oh, they're really insecure inside, and this is how they're acting out. When you get to this level, if in fact it is him, and if he does have these sort of things, again, big ifs, kind of, is that someone who is really insecure today, or is that someone who was really insecure a long time ago, and now that insecurity is gone because they've built up this whole new person that wasn't ever who they were, and they operate in these areas, and the insecurity is not there anymore? It's just strictly.
Yes, you're on to something right there too, Tony. You are on to something right there. And I can't press this enough. The actor and the chameleon. Brian has both of those, it appears. Because in every photo that you see the man in, there's a different look. There's some that are identical. I want you to think about this because I don't want you to just think, oh, 12 full of crap. He's just making stuff up. He's pulling stuff out of his arse. No, I want you to think about this. The actor is the PhD, the student, the learner, the one that's teaching. The chameleon is the one that nobody knows a lot about. Nobody knows where he was going on those late night drives in the early morning. Nobody knows where the 7 hour of his phone being offline the day after the murders, where he was. Nobody has, I'm talking online, YouTubers, we don't have any kind of inkling. We want to speculate. We could say, well, he was doing this, that, and the other, but I don't want to do that. I don't like doing that. Sometimes I do it, but I really don't like going down that avenue. But think about the actor and the chameleon. The one that we see right now in court that showed up to the hearings, that's the actor. The chameleon, I don't think we've ever seen the chameleon. The chameleon would have been the one, if he is the one that did the crime, that would have been the chameleon. And why it's so hard for people to understand, for the PhD student or the criminology major and all this other stuff, the guy that was, applying at Pullman Police Department, all this stuff, how could he have been the one that did this? Because there's 2 of them. So whenever people say it would have taken more than one person to pull this off, you're half right. But it was one and the same. The actor and the chameleon. The chameleon was the one who pulled off the crime. The actor was the planner, the driver, and probably the one who got rid of the evidence. Because the actor seems to be a lot more lucid in the here and now. The actor is more lucid in routines and obsessive compulsive stuff. He's good with planning and getting rid of evidence and, buying stuff that he needs. But the chameleon makes a lot of mistakes because they are roaming just on emotion or lack of, and they're just in autopilot. They're not thinking. There is no thought process. It's strictly reactive. So the actor comes out whenever he's the teacher, whenever he's in front of his lawyers. When they're talking about the dark triad, they talk about the three personality traits: the sociopath, the psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. These three are always shifting, just like I talked about in my other videos. They're always shifting. So therefore, they're mixed into what the chameleon plays out into the world. They're always about self-preservation. It's almost animalistic because our three basic needs in life are social, sexual, and security. So if socially we want to fit in, but the chameleon doesn't want to fit in. Sexually, we're looking to procreate, start families. The chameleon doesn't want to do that. The chameleon is about warped sexual fantasies, all that kind of stuff. The security, we want to be secure. We want to be secure that when we lock our doors at night, we're safe. We're keeping our family safe. We're keeping us safe. So the chameleon is about breaking the law and having justification for the realm of, I did this because of this. I did this because of that. I feel vindicated because they did this to me. That is the chameleon. So the actor, not necessarily. Most people are very fluid with their emotion. They aren't. This person is able to shift them on just like a light switch. And you can see it whenever the other person comes out. It's like, I don't know. I can't explain it to you, but I could be sitting across the desk from somebody, and as long as they're calm, they're telling me what's going on. I'm going to meetings. I'm staying clean. I'm this and that. But the moment that I call them on something, it's like you see the shift, and all of a sudden that smile, that pleasant, calm person, all of a sudden you see a person fidgeting. You see a person getting very anxious. You see a person trying to defend themselves. Well, the actor went away and the chameleon came out to protect the person from whatever I asked them. And that's exactly what I'm talking about right now. Hey, Jack, how you doing, buddy? Papa Roger. Good Papa. Yeah, I'm not sure about Papa Roger, but, there's been a lot of thoughts on that.
Confidence and
Yeah.
hate, basically.
I think you described that brilliantly. You get your PhD on that one. Yes, that the initial genesis of the problems could have come from a sense of rejection and insecurity, but it evolved over time into someone who's so defended, and this rage is really the predominant thing. And as you say, his narcissism and confidence. And the other personality quality that I didn't mention that I should throw in is a person who's kind of schizoid, and that means somebody who is disconnected from emotions and disconnected from other people and has trouble, making empathic attunement with others. And that would certainly be another component with the other ones that could make a person very dangerous.
And she was talking about narcissism just based on what you've heard about Brian and based on the reading that I've been doing, the documents and everything else that you hear about the man. Would you say he had moments of narcissism? If you know what the word means, do you believe that he has a tendency to be narcissistic? Based on the videos that we've seen, the way that we've heard he reacts to being challenged, do you believe, especially with women, that he was narcissistic? And if you've ever been involved with a narcissist, there's no confusing of confidence versus narcissism. There's no comparison. So I'm going to tell you, If you've ever been around a narcissist, you know exactly what they feel like, they look like, and how they act.
Dangerous.
And so many times people look at what happened in your childhood, what abuse did you have, and as far as we know, and I'm not saying it couldn't be out there, but as far as you're aware, there really wasn't much abuse or anything there, out as far as the surface goes. So it doesn't always take something super tragic, I guess, to turn the person into this. Is this one of those things where it's just this is how you are, this is how your chemical makeup is firing, and where everything is in your body, and it just happens to make you be like this?
Yeah, I think we can say for folks like this, it's largely biological.
Yeah.
And why they come out of the chute wired wrong, we don't completely have that nailed down. We don't know, but we certainly know that not every serial killer, not every misogynist, not every horrible person has had a history of trauma. Some have, but that's true for the general population. You know, many people have a trauma history and don't become cluster B personality disorders who act out violently against other people. So there are just a lot of mysteries still about why some people seem to be wired differently this way.
What do you think's going on with him right now? When we see him coming out into court in his suit, dressed nicely in the days that he does, he seems to exude some sort of confidence here.
He sure does.
He doesn't seem to be real fidgety or weird. I mean, weird, I guess, if we're looking at something, the clinical term weird, where we're looking at somebody who, if they did do this, is showing zero empathy whatsoever. Where do you think he is in his mind on all of this, in this specific case, knowing what we know about him with his studies, his interests? And if we're to put all that together, he's sitting in that courtroom being charged with this, and everybody's saying, you killed these 4 kids. And let's just say he did. What is moving around in those wheels as they're turning?
Yeah, he sure doesn't look nervous, does he? He
No.
looks very confident and polished, and he's gotten a good haircut and a nice suit, and he looks put together. So it's really hard to speculate, but there could certainly be a part of him that's enjoying the attention and enjoying.
I was going to say that as well. Do y'all believe that he's enjoying the attention of everything that he's getting, from the admiration from people that are writing him letters, all the YouTube exposure, all the mainstream media, worldwide attention? Do y'all believe that he's enjoying this? Because most killers that we've seen in the courtroom, they really enjoyed it. They really did. To me, he had the same look as BTK, because BTK had that look like there was nothing there. The lights were on, but there was nobody home. How nobody ever suspected BTK, I don't know. But as far as Brian, we're talking about mentally enjoying it. Do you think he's mentally enjoying it? He might not outwardly be showing any of the smiles that Bundy did, or any of the thumbs up, or any of that stuff in the courtroom, but, and that'd be wild if he did do a thumbs up in the courtroom. But BTK was a scary individual. Of all of them, he is a scary one. Him, Israel Keys, they both had that mentality that goes far and wide from all these that we speak on. I think Brian wanted to get caught. I don't know why I think that, but I believe that he wanted to get caught. What do y'all think?
The game aspect of it, and he has very aggressive legal representation, and he may really be thinking he's going to beat this.
Do you think there's a confidence that he's going to beat it, or is it just, I enjoy this ride? I mean, have we seen that before? Has there been other cases where the murderer got into it just to experience the whole the whole presentation, the whole, everything that comes along with it, including the courtroom process.
I think there's an element of that. There's always this, look what I can do, look what I got away with, and I'm going to fool you all.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be that aspect of it's sort of gamified for them. It's the attention.
It's creepy.
I didn't mean to stop it on that, but let's talk about that a second. If it is a game for him, do you believe he feels like he won, he's winning? Or do you feel like he would be thinking, oh crap, they're better at this than I am? What do you think, chat? Answer that question for me.
It's all very, very creepy, but I'm glad we got a chance to kind of break down that essay. I did a full reading of it the other day on the air, and yeah, I mean, by itself, I walked away going, yeah, it seems like what a criminology student would write.
Yeah.
But then you get the context to it and go, maybe there's more.
That's an interesting question, and it was brought to my attention that what if that wasn't even his apartment that he took that selfie at? What if that selfie was taken at a hotel that he rented on the way? Because they did find a hotel key in his car. I mean, it's hard to tell what he's thinking. That's why it's so mind-boggling, because you can say the normal killer goes along these lines, but it seems like if he is the one, then he just goes against everything that is normalized. And that would make sense if he studied these individuals as hardcore as he did. I mean, why not be the best at your craft? I mean, if you're going to be good at something, go big or go home. You know what I mean? Let's see what PKC says. Not sure. Lightoy seemed to enjoy it. Ada, he almost looks fearful. Maybe just optical due to the camera and him thinking more each hearing. I don't know. He is so flat, he is hard to read, and there's no way to determine where the selfies were taken. That's right. That's right. I mean, once again, just talking about it, because he did have a hotel key in his car. That was part of the evidence that was taken. So was that part of the 7-hour mystery? It just a little mind-boggling to me. I didn't realize that 7 hours worth of time was unaccounted for the day after the murders. That's 7 hours. I just thought the 2, but there's 5 other hours that are unaccounted for, where his phone is off or off the network.
Maybe it was a learning experience for him that he then applied a couple more years down the road.
Yeah, I had to do in my training, I had to do a lot of interviews with sex offenders and research what goes on in the mind of a sex offender.
Yeah.
And that is very dark stuff. But if I wrote, which I don't remember, did I write any papers on that? But somebody could look at that and go, whoa, why is she interested in this? That's part of the training. You have to study it.
And it seems like with him, there's a lot of things that were done early, like way before the crimes were actually committed, if he committed the crimes. Buying the knife like 6 months out, buying the head covering that he had like about a year out. And I don't know that speaks to that he was planning the crime at that moment in time. I just wonder if he went along with the crime with things that he had out of convenience. Just like, why would I go buy another knife? Why would I go buy this when I already have this? And that's what I wonder there. Do you think he was thinking that far ahead when he made those purchases, or was it just?
I mean, that's the thing. Also, when he got to Washington State, was he ever noticed to be carrying a knife? Did he have a backpack? Did he have a knife in it? You know, in some of the selfies that other people in Idaho took, they had a vest on with the K-bar in the front, you know? I mean, if you really are going to be using this knife for outdoorsmanship, you would be seen with it. Or, you know, if you had a backpack, you were going hunting, you were going camping, you were doing whatever, fishing, you would have this knife on you. People would know. You'd probably even show Christian Martinez. You'd say, I'm speculating here, okay? You'd say, look, I bought this in, you know, for my trip out here because I'd like to go hiking and I want to be secure and make sure that no wild animal sneaks up on me so I can protect myself. I don't know what kind of animals there are out here. You just never know. But that's just speculating right there. Hey, Jeff H. I don't know if you heard my invitation but on the last one, but you're more than welcome to come up if you'd like, if you're available.
I'm buying this stuff. Maybe I'll have a use for it someday.
My guess is it was part of the murder kit, the murder plan. And people typically find the pre-murder phase, which can go on for years, right? When they're entertaining their violent fantasies, they find that really exciting and arousing. And so the act of accumulating these items and the anticipation for what you plan to do with them someday, that's sort of like an adrenaline rush for them.
It's like a real sick, dark way of it's the journey, not the destination.
100%. Yeah.
He stood in front of the shower, freshly groomed.
Let me put a circle up here for you. This seems to be on people's minds a lot. And I'm not going to lie, I've thought about it too. This selfie is really wild to think about. You said you wore a knife all the time when I was camping and working on the road. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't people have seen that knife if you had it on you? I mean, I know I'm speculating here, but hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. You looking up at Tony?
Yeah. Tony,
we got,
you're so
we
wise.
We got you looking up on the camera.
Wait, see, I gotta look that way to you. Hey, 12, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
How's that? No, you gotta look the other way. I think you look to your left.
The other way. Okay.
There it is. Hey, 12, good to see you, man. Good to see you. How's your circle? It's pretty comfy over there in your circle?
Yeah, pretty comfy. So, I take selfies in my bathroom after I get my makeup and stuff on after a shower. There it is. I am the killer. Okay, we solved the case. We know it's you now.
That's what it was. He was doing his makeup.
I just went to get a haircut, and people on the last selfie, the last live said, "Hey, you're going to get a haircut." And I said, "Yeah, it's been a couple days since I killed my last victim. You know, got to keep the routine going. You know what I mean?" So
right.
I know you are. You're just having fun. I got it.
Oh, because somebody was pointing out that Brian went to get a haircut.
Yeah, I was pointing out that he kept his routine the same.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Jeff? Before I continue on the video, really quickly, I know you were in the live very briefly, but did you hear where I said the planning would have been easy for him, but what if he didn't plan anything after the murders? What kind of adrenaline dump, what kind of mental anxiety would that have been that you're like, oh my God, I got away with it.
Right.
Now all over the place. What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I imagine a lot of brain activity going, trying to figure out, it's like playing a serious game of chess. It's like, well, if they do this, then I got to do this. If they should show up, if they I'm thinking like, was he on the highway? It's like they're pulling me over in Indiana. It's like, oh man, is this it? Is this it? No. Gets pulled over a second time. Oh man, is this it? Is this it? Like when he's in his kitchen, separating trash and stuff. Man, I gotta be sure my trash, my DNA does not hit that curb out front the house. Is this it? Is this it? And I'm sure when he's come busting through the door, this is it. This is it.
I mean, there had to be that moment of denial. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, they're not really here for me. They might be here for my sister. They might be here for my dad. They might be here for my mom. kind of like what he told Birthing Hips. I'm not touching you, and he was touching all over her.
Right.
Remember?
Right. Yeah.
I keep
Yeah.
bringing up Birthing Hips. I don't know why. Let's watch a little more. I like Tony.
Wait, are you bringing it up ever since came on here? Am I looking like I got birthing hips? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, Jeff, you got Birthing Hips, bro.
I've been trying to work out a little more. But...
Wearing a crisp, tightly buttoned up shirt. Anybody ever see anybody wearing shirts this tight anymore, ever? I suppose if you're wearing the tie, you'd probably button it up there, but there's no tie. It's just awkward. Brian Koberger flashing the thumbs up with this little smirk. It was 10:31 a.m. on November 13th of 2022, and that date is very noticeable for this conversation, and notable, not just noticeable, but notable, because just hours earlier, the University of Idaho, 4 students, they've been murdered in their off-campus home. No one knew who Brian Koberger was at that moment in time, or suspected him at that moment in time. But here he was taking a selfie that very morning. Someone had nothing to do with this. Okay, sometimes people take selfies. A lot of times people take selfies. Brian Koberger doesn't strike me as a selfie kind of guy. I could be completely off.
Tony, boy, you're going at it. You're going at it. I started watching this dude a while back. I love his satire. You know, it is refreshing sometimes to hear people give their satire like that and not have a million people attacking them. You know what I mean? He said, "Oh my God, I'm laughing. I'm dying over here. It's a fucking selfie." Well, to be fair, does he look like someone who takes selfies in the bathroom? Would there be more selfies in his phone? Are we going to hear about more selfies in his phone? I mean, honestly, does he appear to be a selfie kind of guy? I know that we've seen multiple pictures of him before. We saw him on one of the running pictures. He had on a hoodie and he did the number 1 like
Right.
this in the selfie. There was another one where he was sitting in a lecture where somebody took the picture. He was in a book signing, I guess, where he was in the picture. I heard that he might have been in a commercial at, I think, Northampton College for one of the departments. So
I hadn't heard that.
I don't remember where I heard that, but for someone that doesn't like the spotlight or doesn't like social situations that everybody's assuming, he sure is all over the place on camera. Does that not
Yeah.
seem to be the case, Jeff?
You know, regarding selfies, I mean, wouldn't it be just a single selfie from Wawa Park at 4 a.m. that would save him, and he wouldn't be sitting in jail all this time if he? That's the moment he would need a selfie. He doesn't. This selfie, unfortunately, at what 10:15, 10:30, it doesn't help him. It unfortunately hurts him if you interpret the selfie to be mission accomplished. With what I did, allegedly did hours ago.
And that's what people are looking at. This is a look. I did it. Look, Ma, I killed 4 people. It's like, okay,
Right.
well.
And have you heard people that talking about this? They were speculating. Well, could he be? And I think they're buying into Ann Taylor's trying to make him sound like he's very awkward, weak, doesn't have the stamina to do anything. He's got the ASD, and they're actually speculating. Look, Ma, I was able to button my top button all by myself. It's like, is that really how you portraying how you see the guy? I mean, it's not like it's not impossible.
Be careful. I got attacked on one of my posts that I did about the top button. Somebody got pissed off that I was making fun of the ASD community, and I wasn't.
Oh yeah, no. I've learned my lesson from regarding that, because I wasn't even making fun of it, but I didn't realize the person I was talking to had a family member with ASD. So,
Right. So
oops, you know,
I'm
open
just
foot,
saying,
put in mouth. Yeah.
But would this be the first picture that he ever buttoned his top button on? Let's be fair. You've seen him in other pictures. He's had that top button. So did he take a picture of that every time? If that theory is to hold water, then you would assume that there would be a pattern, right? You'd see pictures in his phone of him with a top button, maybe a tie.
Yeah.
You know, when that girl was talking about she was he showed up at her wedding or somebody's wedding, and he was thinner and he was, you know, looking good and all this stuff. The girl that took him to go get drugs and didn't know it.
Right.
And she was saying, well, he looked put together, but you know, Brian just had that look about him. I mean, just there's nothing wrong with the guy. Okay, I'm not trying to say that if you look a little different, you're a killer. I'm not saying that at all. But he seems to dress older than he is. Would that be fair? Would that be fair to say?
I don't know. I really, I mean, I'm trying to recollect the pictures that I've seen. I think I saw the picture you're talking about at the wedding. One thing I noticed about that picture at the wedding, I think everybody's close together, but he's, you know, off to the side a little. Again, that sometimes you can read too much into a photo. It just maybe that's where you just happen to be standing.
Yeah.
But as you know, in a
there's
case
that.
like this, we're looking for any indicator, any clue of, you know, because the thing is, a person who's going to do something like this is going to do everything to hide any aspect of it. It's not like they're going to, you know, this is the secret life. This is the, you know.
Well, this is the actor. This selfie is the actor. The guy that we saw taking those other hoodie selfies and whatever, that's the chameleon. Because he has a total different look, does he not? And those other ones, he looks menacing. He's trying to look, I guess, aggressive a little bit. But, you know, like you said, a picture is a picture. It's hard to distinguish what the general perception of the picture is really about. I think he dresses just really playing like a wallflower, playing like he just blends in with everyone.
But I mean, when I first heard about this selfie, like the morning of, it's just like, you know, I don't know. It's just that I don't know. What other reasons can you think of? 10:30 a.m. You look showered. You got a thumbs up to a camera. What other possibilities? I know there's probably numerous, but man, if you consider what we believe he's done.
I mean, didn't he just get off the phone with his father, 56-minute phone call that was never even recorded via the pings, what I was reading the other night. That phone call wasn't even registered on his end. So he couldn't have even used that 56 minutes as an alibi, because there was a 7-hour stretch after the murders where his phone was untraceable. Didn't report to the networks or anything at all.
Was he using some kind of VPN to call his dad?
I don't.
Yeah, you would think that. And if he did, I mean, would that be like a mistake? Would he have wanted that as an alibi? That call, you know.
Well, they knew he'd made a 56-minute call. You know, so they knew about the phone call.
Yeah.
But his phone was off.
Let me ask you this: if you were his dad and he revealed to you what he did and that he did this, how would you react to it? Would you be riding along with him across country?
Do you want?
Oh, I meant to tell you. Go ahead. You answer that
answer,
first.
or do you want a real answer?
It's like, I ain't getting in that car. Uh-oh, your camera froze up. Or is that on my end? Oh. And 12 is 12. We'll be back right after this message. Are you back?
I see
There
you.
Uh-oh. Did you pay your internet?
I think they're putting in a pool next door, so they could be messing with the internet. Because that's the second time that it's booted me.
A pool in
I
your
said
complex, or
no. Next
like
to
a?
the house, next to the house,
Oh,
there's
oh,
a little plot of land, and I
oh.
think the
Okay,
neighbors are putting in a pool.
I got you.
So I was saying, do you want the comical answer, or do you want a serious answer?
Sure. Let's get the comical first.
I usually only take selfies when something is wrong. Last tooth infection to show Dennis how swollen my face was. Okay, that's fair enough. I don't know what's up with StreamYard. It would kill me inside, and I would still love my child. Chris Watt, his parents still love him, but justice is justice. Hey, Mountain Mama.
Yeah,
What was the
I
question?
use selfies for doctors as well. I remember my son had rheumatoid arthritis, and we saw a specialist, and he was about to just let us walk out the door, like, I'm not sure I can help you. And I said, let me show you a video. And I showed him, like, in the morning how stiff his hands were. He could hardly close his hands, and he was crying. Man, that doctor was like, wait, let's go back in the office. Let's talk about this. This looks like junior rheumatoid arthritis. And it's like, man, what if I hadn't taken that video? This doctor would have been
Right.
like, sorry, I've done all I can do.
Right. Well, your question to me was, if he confessed to his father, would his father still have driven cross country with him?
If
Was
you were
that the
his father,
question?
what would you do if you were, he's confessed to you, you're his father, how would you handle that?
Hell, Brian, let's go eat Thai food. We'll talk about it when we get home.
Talk about it over time.
We'll talk. We'll talk about it over Thai. Holy crap! You're
Yeah.
getting pulled over. I told you about tailgating,
Yeah.
and then the second time it'd be like, you know what? One more time, Mister, and I'm driving. Well, the dad did say he was feeling a little punchy. Did he not?
Yeah, I think it was him who said that in that traffic stop.
Yeah. Excuse us for being a little punchy. We've been
Yeah.
driving so many miles, whatever. Well, I'm going to turn the question back on you. Tell me what you do if your son told you that. Because you have a son, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as much as, like, the desire to protect your son, you can't protect him from extremely bad decisions he's made. He's got to face consequences. And I'm a believer that the truth will set you free, in so many ways. Your own mentally, it's better for everybody. The consequences aren't going to be fun, of course, but that's what I wish. It's too bad when I heard a certain YouTuber kind of claim that they talked to Mr. Koberger in jail. One of the first questions, I was like, really? I was like, well, I had heard that he was finding religion in jail. I mean, is there any chance he's taken heart to the truth will set you free, type of thing? I wondered, like, what? I mean, I don't know, what would you do? Another question. I mean, would you tell the truth, or would you ride it out? But if he's riding it out, so part of me thinks, like, there are people like this that can enjoy that ride completely. They just enjoy. This is, getting caught would have sucked, but this is, it wasn't what I planned on. I thought I could get away with it, but I got caught. This ain't so bad. I'm enjoying all this attention. Looks like I'm getting away with it with a lot of people.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the actor and the chameleon. The chameleon has that attitude where, you know what? I've been treated this way all my life. Now it's time for me to really, if you're going to think this is me, well, I'm going to give you who you want me to be. It kind of goes on that line of, I don't know if you've ever had a girlfriend who accused you of cheating all the time. I've had plenty of friends that went through that scenario, and their remark always to me was, well, I always get accused of it. I might as well do it.
Right, I've heard of that. Yep.
If you always get accused of being a mess up or something like that, well, I'm going to show you I can be the But he wasn't at that point until things started going downward with his TA job. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
I mean, it appeared to be going well for him until he got that first reprimand. After that, he got the improvement plan, and then he started doing a little better, got into another verbal with the Snyder dude, and then they figured, well, we're going to terminate him. And at that
Yeah.
point, he had taken off to Pennsylvania. So, you know,
Hmm.
it's really it's really wild to think about. Let's see what Tony has to say.
On that assumption. At first glance, the photo might seem like nothing more than an awkward mirror shot, the kind we've all seen 1,000 times on Instagram. But context changes everything. The shirt, the smirk, the setting. It all struck a chord. What is this? Is this a taunt? Is this evidence? Is there something on his finger there that shows friction from life? When I saw it, a lot of things ran through my mind. And a few days after seeing the photo, another photo struck my interest, and a concept struck my interest. Take a look at this one.
Well, did you freeze up? You got to talk to those people putting in that pool. Let's go. Let's go talk to them and tell them to hurry up so we can finish the pool and we can go take a dip. There you are. You're moving now.
I see you now. I mean, we're here. It just keeps booting us. I don't know what's going on. I've never had this happen.
Hey, did you see Cuffy's last comment?
What'd she say?
I recognize those lyrics.
I do too. I was trying to figure out what song that was.
I think it's Creep. Is that right, Cuffy?
I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? Yeah.
I have my guitar on me but I don't. I used to know that song.
Here. Yeah, Creep by Radiohead. Yeah. She says, "Oh my God, I've been saying over a year and more. He reminds me of the guy on American Psycho, which is one of my favorite all-time movies." I've never watched American Psycho, but I've done some clips on it. That guy seems just like that. He seemed very, very withdrawn. Have you ever watched that show, Jeff?
I don't think I have. I might have caught a little bit of it, but never. I don't think a full episode. I'll have to check it out. Got the grandkids over here. Or what about what's that show? You used to watch that show, Hannibal. Did you ever watch that?
No. This is wild. Every time I ask a question, it like boot us off this. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely watch it, Cuff. That sounds it sounds good. I mean, it sounds like required watching for what we do here on YouTube.
Well, let's continue on.
But one of the biggest cruxes of this case is, how did someone kill these 4 kids and not have any blood on them? Or what did they do to avoid all of that? Keep in mind, he wrote a paper not that far prior to these murders about how to commit murders pretty much like this and clean up, not get caught, and evade detection. He was studying criminology, so you got to give him that. That's not that crazy if you're studying that, really. That's Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, by the way. But there's a lot more to the similarities that I feel this picture brings out. And we're going to go through some of them. If you're just joining us, be sure to press subscribe, whatever platform you're listening to us on, if it's on podcast. And if you are watching sharper, cleaner than everyone else, the photo, whether intentionally styled that way or not, hits eerily close to that archetype. Of course, then there is the shower. The striking backdrop in Psycho. The shower scene is one of the most iconic in horror history, a place of vulnerability. Turned violent, people couldn't help but notice the dark symbolism of Kohberger's standing there, clean, composed. A scene of real-life horror played out just hours earlier down the road. Maybe it was all a coincidence.
Do you believe in coincidences, Jeff?
No. I no. I mean, and how many does one guy get? How many coincidences fall in his lap on this same night? It's just and if you think about it, surely we don't know all there is to know. Law enforcement and defense certainly know more. We're going to find that out in trial, and then we're going to say, "Oh my gosh, it's a mountain of coincidences." They all point to him, and
well, isn't that
I think
what
they've done the research.
Isn't that what we strive for as Americans in the law enforcement community? We strive to catch, quote unquote, the bad guys. We really do. We strive to catch the bad guys and give them due process. You know,
Right.
we try.
Hey, 12.
to
I gotta go. I thought I had to be somewhere at 6. I gotta actually be there at 5.
Okay.
So I better
All right,
hop off.
sounds
But
good.
thanks for having me.
Well,
Wish I
thanks
could
for
stay
being
longer.
up here, buddy. No,
Always
no problem.
enjoy it.
Another
All right,
time.
thanks.
Bye. So that's what we try to aim for in the realms of law, is to get a fair trial, to get the right person, not to unjustly persecute the wrong person. Has it happened? Of course it has. Does it happen every time? No. Just because you get a bad experience 1 out of 99 times at a restaurant, or you turn in your job assignment 1 out of 99 times and you get reprimanded for that one time, does it mean that is going to be the status quo for you, or has been? No, it doesn't. Is there bad cops? Of course there is. Is there bad medical people? Of course there is. Is there bad ambulance drivers? Of course there is. There's bad in every realm, spectrum of professions that we have. But for all the bad ones, we have a lot of good ones. And they should never have the actions of a bad person to speak for all the good that they do in this world. And it's sad that so many people hang on to the minute and put it all together whenever they're talking about one specific area. It really is. I mean, we really don't know if Dylan didn't see him with blood all over him. I believe at the trial we'll learn a lot more than what we know today. What we learned yesterday, what we learned the day before. And the fact of the matter, and this isn't to you, Cuffy, because I've heard a lot of people attack Dylan and Bethany. You know, the fact of the matter is they didn't kill their roommates. They didn't kill their roommates. Dylan didn't intend on being a witness to the perpetrator walking by her door, I'm sure. So to keep the spotlight on these two individuals, to even say their names muttered in the possibilities of went on, they were just playing a minute role in the after effects of something going terribly wrong. So I believe that they're going to live with a life of what ifs, survivor's guilt, all kinds of stuff. Whether they look like it or whether they don't, I'm pretty certain, just like everybody else in life, you know, I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're attacking them. Calm down a little bit. Not saying that I read it that way. I'm talking about other people that I've heard because it's continual. I'm not saying you. It's continual when it comes to these two. You know, I'm sure they didn't wake up wanting to see that their roommates were deceased. It's kind of like you going to bed tonight thinking everything's okay, waking up in the middle of the night hearing noises, not certain what they were, looking around and see somebody running through your yard, even though you don't get a very good glance at them, you think you're half asleep. The next morning, you go downstairs and there's a bloodbath. And then people start asking you, why didn't you call the cops whenever you saw the man running across your yard? You get what I'm saying? You know? That is instead of focusing on the fact that this individual committed a crime, let's look for the guy running across the yard, not the person who woke up and happened to see them running across the yard. They didn't kill the four people. Bethany didn't kill them. They were cleared. Let's move on. Let's leave them be. Let's hear from them at the trial. Let's leave them be. You know what I mean? Let's hear what she had to say at the trial. She might have more information than we are even referenced to at this point. And if she does, I think everybody's going to be shocked. I'm not saying that she does, but I'm saying if she does, there's going to be a lot of individuals that are going to be like, oh my God, I never would have thought that. I never would have assumed that. Or, oh, that makes total sense. But at this point, they've been cleared. Let's leave them alone. They didn't murder their roommates. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like Murphy. Nobody's attacking Murphy because he was in the house and they were murdered. Why didn't you blame the dog for not calling 911? Why didn't you bark all night? Why didn't you bark louder? Why didn't you go get help from around the corner? I'm really shocked that people haven't attacked the dog. You know what I mean? I really am. And like I said earlier, do y'all believe, and I left the live like this, do y'all believe that that was Murphy barking at 417? Do you believe that Murphy walked outside? That's why it was so loud of a bark? Or was that another dog that could have been barking? Or do you believe that those barks were so loud that they could be heard through that house on that 1112 camera? You get what I'm saying? Do you believe that Murphy was in the house? Do you believe that was he on the balcony? Was he in the kitchen barking? That bark, and Jeff made a good statement too. They could have enhanced the sound so that we did hear the barking, that we did hear the thud. You know, he made a good point. But if it wasn't enhanced, then it was kind of sounding like that or even distant. Man, that's a hell of a light bulb cam. That's a hell of a light bulb cam. You know? These two cameras, boy, the one at 1330 and that light bulb cam, they got their money's worth. Whoever makes these cameras, their camera sales should go up through the roof after this trial. You know what I mean? I thought that possibly Murphy could have followed the killer out. Stayed on the patio, did his business, started barking, and then ultimately went inside the house. Because we have to remember, he wouldn't have attacked this individual. He was raised around a lot of people. He was not a vicious dog like that. So it wouldn't be beyond the realm that he could have followed the killer downstairs. Not after he killed them, of course. Not after he, I'm talking about a little bit after he left. You know? I'm sure we'll know that too at the trial. I hope so. But it has no relevance to the crime. So if we don't hear about it, I totally understand why. I know you weren't. I know you weren't. I get your thoughts. I really do. I like how you think. That camera even picked up the lights on Walenta. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That camera was a hell of a light bulb cam. They spent some money on that cam. If it was 1999, boy, that camera company should be through the roof after this trial. The profits should be through the roof. You know what I mean? One thing that I want to reiterate on everything that I'm showing today, yesterday, the day before, is we all have the capacity to come to our own conclusions without adding a storyline that we don't know about. You get what I'm saying? That's when it becomes dangerous. That's when you start putting people that probably didn't even have anything to do with the crime in danger, you know? That's when you start putting businesses that had nothing to do with the crime in danger. Because if Brian isn't the killer, that means that there's a killer or killers still out there. So the fact that people are comfortable making all these other people accountable for this murder, if Brian didn't do it, and there's still people out there that did, what to stop them from acting again? You get what I'm saying? Because people are really unhinged this day and age. They really are. Leslie says, no, I think it's a neighbor's dog. Okay. You know, we don't get mad that easy, cuff you. We really don't. We really don't. The reason that you've heard me go off on my channel is for other reasons. And I've made peace with that reason. And hopefully you won't hear me go off again, But I am human and I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad today at all. I'm in a pretty good state of mind. Now, if my internet would just stay on, that would be great. That would be great. Y'all have any questions on what was presented today? I thought that was a good presentation by Mr. Brueski. I really do. And one thing that I hope that individuals take into account as well is that just because people have a different mentality about what could or could not have happened, why get so angry about it? Why get so upset about it? Why get so angry about it? I've already told my people to stop using those words, because I don't agree with using childish words like that. We should be able to communicate as adults without using name calling to describe people, stupid little word to describe people. We should be able just to talk about individuals by using their name and not descriptive word to describe them. You know? But there's some people that can't do that, and I'm not the YouTube police. which is all cool as long as they don't say my name or put me in it. We're good, you know? But I think this trial is going to be interesting, and as far as I can tell, the trial's on course to happen. It's on course to happen, and that is a good thing. It's a very good thing because it's long overdue. It needs to be gone already. Need to be done. Like I said, if he's innocent, he's innocent. Let's move on with it. If he's guilty, he's guilty. Let's move on with it. Stop with the whole coulda, woulda, shoulda, this and that and the other, and he did this and he did that, and he thought this and he thought that. The only reason that I ask those type of questions is for a psychological thought process, not to try to get into his mind on why he would have killed these people. There's a difference. You get what I'm saying? Because the dark triad is real. Let me see if I can find that video right quick and I can play a little bit of it. But I'm not going to play the whole thing. Y'all can go into my library and watch it. Because the triad is very informative to the mindset of somebody who is not right. Just because you're not right, that doesn't make you a killer. But what to stop you from being a killer? You know what I mean? We heard about Travis Decker. Mentally unstable. That's what we hear. Mentally unstable. So if you're mentally unstable, that means that you're not in a good frame of mindset whenever you commit these atrocious murders or kidnappings or all this other stuff that people do. So what makes us defend them so much? Even though we might could relate with their mental capacity, still the crime is the crime. If there is mens rea, how could you go against that? There's part 2. Where's part 1 at? I really wish I would have labeled my stuff better, because it drives me crazy when I'm looking for something and I can't find it. It's like, where the hell is that? I know I did a video on it, but where is it? Especially if it's more than one part. You would think the first part would be not long before part 2. But YouTube doesn't do that for you. It doesn't put things in order. You have to literally go look for it. I think I found it.
The database.
Okay, let me go to the other one. How are y'all doing today on this Saturday? Y'all enjoying the weather? You enjoying hopefully being with your families and doing all kinds of good stuff? Relaxing, resting, whatever it is that y'all do on your days off. If the weekend is indeed your day off. YouTube is crazy. It really is. It's almost like I have to memorize the picture in order to remember what it is. I guess if I'm going to say anything about Brian, I'm going to say that I hope that if he did do it, that he's able to make peace, not only with himself, but with whoever he needs to make peace with. Because, you know, not one sin is worse than the other. So that's how I believe. And I guess that's what makes it so easy to say what I say, because I believe that. It's kind of like if you heard someone that you cared about and you loved, and they were a little off, but they were still your family, and you loved them and you cared for them, and you tried to protect them from harm, and you heard that they had been accused of, some kind of heinous crime, and you heard all the evidence that was against them. You wouldn't want to believe it, but somewhere in your mind, you would still have that moment of doubt, especially if you knew them better than anybody else. You grew up with them, you spent a lot of time with them. You wouldn't want to believe it, but you still wouldn't be able to overlook the fact that there could be a probability that they could have done it. Because for whatever reason, people believe that as human beings, we have the capacity to not kill for any reason other than jealousy, money, or I can't think of what the other one is. Greed. But in 2025, people get killed for less. In 2022, people were getting killed for less. So you don't always need a definitive reason for somebody to be able to kill somebody. You don't need that understanding of why did they do it, because you might not ever know. It might have just been, well, today felt like today. I'm not the one. And today felt like that day that you were going to go do what you were going to go do, something that had been crossing your mind for a long time, and today was the day. You might not be able to understand it. You might not be able to tell people why you did it. You just know that at that point, you just got up and did it. And I know that doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. I know it doesn't. But you know, in reality, sometimes that happens. It isn't black or white. A lot of this stuff is really gray. And if you don't have the capacity to think in the gray area and you're all about black or white, then you'll never understand it. Because in your mind, it's either this or it's either that. There's no other way that it could have happened. And I try to show different variations of the possibility of how this stuff goes down. Not 12 gauges way, but different ways. You know what I mean? There's different ways that things happen. And you're right, Rondi. I heard of a shelter where 11 people were stabbed. For what reason? I've seen videos on YouTube where this guy just walks into this shelter and shoots this person point blank and walks out for no reason at all. No reason at all. So to sit there and believe that people need a substantiated reason to kill somebody, much less 4, you must look outside the box a little bit sometimes. Because it sounds like a lot of people have never had bad things happen to them. Because if you've ever lived a life where bad things do happen, or you've seen a lot of, I can't find it. I will do that next time. If you lived a life where bad things have happened to you, you do understand that there is bad people, and bad people do bad things in an impulsive manner. That it's not often planned; it just happens. You know, it's more than possible. I like that statement, Mountain Mama. They better leave Murphy alone. I like dogs more than people. I have a friend that feels the same way. He has 4 dogs. He has a red pit, a little terrier, calls him Pork Chop, red, um, has a Rottie, you know. And that's awesome. I saw that picture of your well water pump. I'm glad y'all got that in. You live outside the box and down the block, right? I'm glad you're feeling better, Mountain Mama. I'm glad those medications worked. It's 80 over there. It's 95 degrees over here in Texas. 95 degrees. It's 80 over there. Wow. 95 degrees. I'm thinking summer's here to stay. So I want y'all to pass the word to people who have not been to my channel or have had a bad experience, or maybe they're not able to chat in here anymore. I've had mods who block people, and I'm not able to unblock them if those mods block them, because for whatever reason they won't let me unblock people I can't see. And I can't even unblock people that I blocked. They're not in my block thing. So if people come in here and they chat and I don't respond to them, or people don't respond to them, there's a reason for that, you know? I don't know who blocked who. And I hate that. You know what I mean? So tell people to unsubscribe and subscribe again, and maybe that'll help. If they come in the chat and they don't see their chat or nobody's responding to them, tell them to unsubscribe and just resubscribe. See if that helps. I don't know if it does or not, but I just noticed that a lot of people that once were in here are no longer in here, and I don't know what the reason is. But I've had some people that have overstepped their powers a little bit, and it is what it is. If you've been on YouTube any length of time, you understand it. So what are some of you doing today on the rest of this Saturday? Anything productive? Anything? The delay is bad. I don't like the delay. I wish we could watch movies. I think the next time, if I get with Tony, I will show this one right here because I want to watch this with you guys. It says Brian Koberger's Mind Unpacked, FBI profiler Robin Drake breaks down the behavior. I would do it now, but I don't feel like going on. I wanna kind of wind down a little bit. Yeah, the delay does suck. Me and the grandkid just got ice cream from McDonald's. McDonald's. That's awesome that the ice cream machine works where you're at. Hopefully some book works. So hard for me to get it done or even started. Hi JB. Welcome. Just finished power washing and sanding a deck. Oh, you can't beat that. Texas was in here earlier. I guess he said he's at his brother's house watching your grandson. So you are doing all the good today. It's not in yet, but it's getting there. 12 gauge. What are your plans this weekend? I want to do the domestic violence one probably tomorrow. I got 2 more weeks of school, so I'm probably going to be doing some studying, working out, relaxing, trying to get my brain to slow down a little bit, and hopefully eat some good food. I'm on call next week, so usually the weekend before and the weekend after I'm on call, I don't do anything because it's a lot. Being on call takes a lot out of me because I'm so mindful of listening for the phone that I can't relax. That is true, Mountain Mama. There's a lot of McDonald's where that ice cream machine doesn't work. They have some good ice cream, that's for sure. Ice cream does sound good though, doesn't it? Really quick before I sign off, type in your favorite ice cream flavor and from where, either a grocery store or a restaurant. Type it in the chat. Your favorite ice cream flavor. Coffee ice cream, okay. Currently it's 94 degrees. I think I will wait until the sun goes. Smart choice. We got Cherry Garcia. We got vanilla. I like pistachio almond. Okay. Mine cherry vanilla. I don't know if y'all know what Bluebell is, but it's a Bluebell flavor. And I try not to buy it very often. Moose Tracks. Too many to choose from. Moose Tracks, Twix, Fudge Brownie. Oh boy. Those are some good flavors. Good flavors. Orange sherbet is really good, yeah. I'd be passed out for days if I ate all those ice creams. Cherry Garcia is my favorite. Okay. Why can't we watch movies? They'll copyright us. They'll copyright us. Chunky Monkey from Ben and Jerry. What's your favorite ice cream, Leslie? All right. Hope you catch something. Maybe a big old bass or some catfish, whatever you're fishing for. Leslie, what's your favorite ice cream? All right. I if you can hear me. I guess Leslie will tell me her favorite ice cream next time. PKC says I need to go fishing. That is quite relaxing for sure. Quite relaxing. Well, you wonderful people, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Whatever you're doing, be safe at it. Enjoy the time. And don't take life so serious, especially the YouTube world. Try to keep your mind stable. Try to keep your mind right. And worry about your health if you have health issues. Don't worry about YouTube so much. It will be here. I send best wishes and best vibes to everybody in the chat and those of you that watch on replay. And even those of you that don't come into the chat and just watch from afar. Hopefully you have a great day. Y'all have a great weekend. And I'm just going to play some music. Then I'm going to get out of here, okay? Give y'all a chance to talk.
Woke up in the silence, heart bruised by the fight. Shadows on my pillow, echoes of the night. But grace like thunder whispered through the pain. You are not forgotten, I break every chain. I've walked through fire, I've cried through storms, but in your mercy I am reborn. From tears to honor I rise again. No more a victim, I stand in Him. He lifts the weary, He heals the scar. With every heartbeat He mends the heart. From ashes I will find my flame. By the power of Jesus' name. Every cruel word carved deep in my soul, but truth rewrites me, starts to make me whole. The grind that wore me down won't steal my song. With Christ beside